Yeah, Reform UK's Zia Youssef has launched a scathing attack on the BBC after the broadcaster invited multiple asylum seekers to sit in on Question Time's immigration special. The latest edition of the debate episode was filmed in Dover, ground zero for Britain's migrant crisis.
Well, joining us now is GB News chief political correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, a very controversial episode.
Yes, it really was. I'm normally tucked up in bed and don't see Question Time, but I did watch it last night and I thought it was really quite incredible. So I asked the Prime Minister's official spokesman in the lobby briefing with political journalists just now whether the Prime Minister thought that it was appropriate of Question Time to have given a platform to two men who had crossed the Channel illegally on small boats, one of whom admitted that he had sought asylum in other European countries and been turned down, but is now here. The Prime Minister's official spokesman did not want to get into that at all, simply said that they cannot speak for BBC's editorial decisions. I also asked if we were really to believe that the fact that an audience in Dover, when we know that Dover is really on the front end of the small boats crisis, that applauded loudly everything that Zach Polanski of the Greens said, but nothing for Zia Youssef of Reform, was really representative of Dover. Again, the government just do not want to go there. But look, I think this is potentially very problematic for a BBC that already is facing lots of questions about perceived or alleged bias. Also, there's a story in the Times today talking about the small boats and possible returns hubs in North Macedonia. The government wouldn't comment, but they said that they are rolling up their sleeves and taking serious action to deliver border security. And basically on the BBC question, rather than talking about the BBC specifically, they just went on and on at great length about all the many things that they are trying to do to get a grip of this crisis. But at the moment, as we know, the numbers are going in totally the wrong direction. The other big topic was David Lammy and Brexit, because David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, has said that although rejoining the customs union is not currently the policy of the government, that it would bring growth, something that the government very, very short of. And there has been a definite strange change of strategy in this building behind me, because there's been a lot of personnel changes in Number 10. But there's been a definite shift in the last few weeks to talking about Brexit and the damage that Number 10 says that it's caused to the economy. For a long time, Labour did not mention the B word. It was like the word that couldn't be spoken. They've done an absolute 180-degree turn on that. But on David Lammy's comments about getting growth, the government still saying they are not changing their red lines, no rejoining the single market, the customs union, freedom of movement. But when I said, will that still be your position going into the next election, they initially said our red lines haven't changed. But when I pushed them on that and the fact that they frequently, sometimes say things and then do the opposite, they said that it wasn't their current position. So it is not currently their position to rejoin the customs union or a customs union. But I think that leaves the door open for a shift in policy down the line.
Exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GB News in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called Custom Removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
Astonishing stuff. Thank you very much, Catherine. That's our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Not currently the position. Why does that send shivers down my spine, to be honest with you?
Oh, we have seen this government dance at the head of a pin on many different subjects, haven't we?
Perish the thought they'd tell any porcupines anywhere along the line.
Well, shall we return to this question of the BBC? Joining us now is the human rights campaigner and director of the Peter Tatchell Foundation, Peter Tatchell, and the former Labour MP, now Reform Party member, Simon Danczuk. Simon, let's start with you. What did you make of this Question Time special?
I think this is another BBC failure. They're supposed to provide a representative sample of the British public. That's who should be in the audience, and yet they've planted a couple of illegal immigrants in there. And it's backfired on them in many respects. I think it's been a total failure on their part. What are they going to do if they have a special edition in terms of grooming gangs? They're going to put some of the perpetrators in the audience? Is that what they're going to do? I mean, where does this stop? It should just be a representative sample of the British public, but they're trying to fix it in some way. And, I mean, on a positive note, it started to generate a debate about whether this guy should be deported. Rupert Law, Member of Parliament, is now saying this guy should be deported. So there's another issue from the BBC in terms of duty of care. The Sunday papers will be all over this guy, and he won't have an easy time. He wasn't very articulate, was he?
Just be clear about which one you're talking about. The one that travelled across 6 countries before claiming asylum here? Or the one that appeared to be reading out a script?
The person reading out the script, yeah.
Yeah, the one from Iran, I think
yes,
he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
OK. Peter, what did you make of it?
Well, I think if you're going to have a debate about immigration and asylum seekers, it's absolutely right to have asylum seekers in the audience to tell their stories, to hear about their experiences. We don't have to agree with them, but if you're going to have this debate, let the victims speak, and that will inform the British public, and the public can decide. The number one point is there are no safe legal routes to claim asylum in this country. All the safe legal routes have been closed, and that is why people are resorting to small boats. So, for example, Christians persecuted by Islamists in Pakistan and Iran or Afghanistan, they cannot get a visa to come here and claim asylum, even though they have a provable case that their lives are in danger. The same with an Afghan man that I'm helping. He worked alongside British forces in Afghanistan. He helped the effort to defeat the Taliban, and he has been refused.
But there was a scheme called ARAP. It operated for 3 or 4 years. It's closed down now because the Taliban have been running the country for 4 years. I mean, should this be open indefinitely?
He applied under ARAP and was refused. And even after his details were leaked in the data breach, which put him at great risk, he was refused by the British government. They will not give him a visa. Another case, a young gay man who is also Afghani, also a member of the persecuted Hazara religious and ethnic minority. He was arrested, jailed, tortured and gang raped by Taliban commanders, and he's been refused asylum, refused even a visa to come here to make a claim. So there are no safe legal routes for these people who have suffered genuine persecution. I want to say, illegal immigrants, yes, out. No doubt about it.
I don't accept that they're all victims by any stretch. When I was a Member of Parliament in Rochdale, we took a disproportionate number of illegal immigrants into the constituency, one of the highest numbers across the country at the time. And many of them presented at my surgery, and the vast majority were economic migrants. That's who's coming over in the small boats. The vast majority are economic migrants. But this is about the BBC, isn't it? It's about them trying to skew the story. If on Peter's point, if they want somebody with that perspective, put them on the panel. That's the format. But the audience should be a representative sample. But the BBC, yet again, get it wrong and skew it to the point where they put in illegal immigrants in the audience. The guy's inarticulate, is reading off a screen, trying to tell the British public that they shouldn't come out of the European Convention on Human Rights. What is that about? It's backfired on the BBC yet again.
But I'm not supporting illegal immigrants. I agree they have no place here. But there are so many genuine refugees whose cases have been vetted and approved, who are being refused asylum in this country. And many of them have skills that we need. If they come here, they will work, they'll pay tax and national insurance, they will contribute to the economy, but they are being refused point blank by this government.
I wouldn't argue, but this is about the BBC. And the problem from this perspective is that they've done your argument a disservice, because the debate now is where you've got members of Parliament talking about deportation of the individual, but deportation more widely. So the whole debate has changed. It's moving gradually, and the BBC accidentally are assisting that debate, moving on to deportations. I think we do need to talk about deportation. I think with far too many people coming to this country, and he was asked himself in the programme, would you go back to Iran? Would you go if it was a safe place to go? And his answer was no, he wouldn't go back to Iran. And that's unacceptable. The British people have had enough.
Yeah, I think we can agree that there is a big problem here, and I wholeheartedly agree that we need to find a solution. But when it comes to the small boats, we do need to stop illegal people coming over who have no legitimate case. But the way to do that is to set up asylum assessment centres in France where anybody can apply, and then if they are found to have a genuine case, they can be given a visa and come here legally, but everyone else should be stopped or sent back.
If we did that, let's be real.
Yeah.
How many millions, how many hundreds of millions of people around the world live in poverty, squalor, or at risk of famine, with horrible governments and lots of war? The world is a very nasty place. And of course, if any one of those people decides to come to the United Kingdom, if they're at genuine risk, in your view, they should be allowed to come to the UK. This was a system that was agreed in the 1950s when it was very hard to travel halfway around the world. Now it's very easy to travel halfway around the world. This is not a sustainable system to maintain. If theoretically hundreds of millions of people have the right to come here.
Yeah, I agree. It cannot be Britain's burden alone. We have to have international agreements, particularly with other European countries. But the small boats is an immediate problem, and the way to solve it is by having the asylum assessment centres in France to weed out the genuine from the illegal and fakers. The fakers.
67% of those who come across illegally, irregularly, are given asylum. Now, a lot of people would say that are they genuine asylum seekers? Are the British the sort of soft touch here? Some of these people have been refused asylum in other European countries. We seem to rubber stamp a lot of these people, despite them clearly, in a lot of people's views, coming for economic rather than asylum means.
Yeah, well, that's why the asylum assessment centres in France would help reduce that problem. It may not entirely eliminate it, but it would massively reduce it, because people who apply and do not succeed in getting asylum, if they still try to come, they get sent straight back.
Simon, let's bring you back in.
The other reason that they come in here, let's be honest about this, is for benefits. And we've just seen a Labour government increase the amount of benefits that people will receive quite dramatically. And it's working class people who are being taxed to pay more benefits. And the French themselves would tell you that. They will tell, French politicians will tell you that Britain is a magnet. That's why they don't stay in France. It's completely safe to stay in France. But we provide far too much in terms of benefits to these people. And as you point out, they have once they get here, they have an exceptionally good chance of being able to stay here. So economic migrants, but also benefit migrants. That's the reality of what we're seeing. And it's interesting, this was held in Dover. Mike Tapp was on the panel. He's the Labour MP. He's a Home Office minister. And he should be ashamed of himself. Under his government, under this Labour government, the number of illegal immigrants is going up all the time. It's not going down, it's going up. And they promised to smash the gangs, and they've done nothing on it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Set up these asylum assessment centres in France to weed out the genuines from the fakers, stop the fakers, allow the genuine in. But let me say, my foundation has helped many people claim asylum, genuine people, and every single one of them is in work. Every single one. They're contributing to the economy, paying tax. Many of them do community volunteer work as a payback. There's one case, this was at the time of the Iraq War, an Iraqi doctor. He was set up for assassination by Islamist extremists because he was gay. I helped him escape and get to Britain. He could have walked into one of Britain's top teaching hospitals and got a very well-paid job. But you know what he did instead? He searched and found a small community in the north of England that had no GP. And he said, I will go and work there for 5 years to show my thanks to the British people.
Peter, that's a wonderful example, but one of the people on the Question Time audience last night had travelled through 6 countries, had asylum turned down 6 times to arrive in the UK. Why do you think that was?
Well, yeah, I don't know what the precise details were, but obviously that's a suspicious case. And, you know, I would like to see the evidence. But, of course, there are some countries that are very, very brutal in their asylum process, and they basically have a policy of no, no, no. So, you know, that may be a case that should not be processed here. Maybe, but I don't know. But I want to make this plea. Please don't close the door on genuine refugees, because I know from my experience, when they do come here and get asylum, they contribute to our economy.
Peter, I just want to finally say we are running out of time, but if those boats were full of women and girls travelling from Afghanistan, I'd put them up in my own flat. They're not. That's the problem. OK, thank you. We have run out of time on that one, but as always, do let us know what you think. Thank you very much to Peter Tatchell and to Simon Danczuk for that one. And gbnews.com/your say to have your say.
And of course, a spokesperson for the BBC on this issue has said, as immigration continues to be a primary concern for people in the UK, Question Time held a special episode in Dover with panellists across the political spectrum and a local audience with a range of views and experiences. Over 20 audience members asked questions and contributed to the debate, including 2 people with direct experience of the asylum system in the UK who've been granted refugee status. Yeah.